Hey Dom, are you ready for my arrival or your
I am ready for your arrival.
yeah or the
It's
aliens
funny,
arrival?
just this morning, I'm cruising through Reddit and
Yeah,
someone posts a photo, a screenshot. They're like, I found this funny. And it was some streaming platform,
right.
but it had that image behind you,
Yeah,
arrival.
yeah,
So arrival, and then below it, leaving soon.
yeah. Well, you know something, you I hope you realize you opened up a whole can of worms here because this is going to be a hard one. Well, you this is going to be a hard one to discuss. There's so many different things around this one,
Yes,
and
there are.
well, I mean, for one thing, let's start out with this is Dom's recommendation. Everyone that
My pick, and it
yeah,
should be
this was
anyone that's watched this channel, anyone that knows the two of us
yeah,
should know without any doubt this is my pick.
yeah. It's you're very
This
much
is my type of sci-fi.
right, and it's also your sci-fi is probably one of your favorite mediums. I think
Very true. Very true.
um, but and I love sci-fi myself. I find it hard to find really good sci-fi, but this one is a special sci-fi too. It's a sci-fi that really concerns like alien arrival, and this has been done in other movies, like most famously probably in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and
Don't you mean most famously the day the Earth stood still?
well that is
That
the
was one of the earliest.
well it was the one that actually really set the tone, and ever since then we've been having these movies like um, oh the Will Smith ones.
Independence Day.
Yes, Independence Day, and Independence Day. I've have mixed feelings about that. I have mixed feelings about this one. I'm going to talk about, but
Okay.
first of all, since you started this, um, okay. First of all, the big conjecture here is alien visitors, and so let's put this out there. Do you feel that um, it's either ever happened, that when you talk about, say, a UFO, or that there's people that are trying to visit us right now, because there's all kinds of between our military and all kinds of different stuff. There's been tons of stuff put out there. It's been congressional hearings. So, what are your thoughts? Let's hear.
Okay, so first of all, before I say anything,
Right,
let it be known I hate entering discussions in which there is no answer. And alien life, its existence, its any form of contact, there's no way either of us can know for sure. We can talk around this issue for days
right.
and not get anywhere with it. So
Well, yeah, but it's possible there are people who do know.
it is possible. It's possible there are people who know whether God really exists or not,
Well, that is further out
or
there, but
or
yeah,
exactly when we are going to die. I mean, there's probably people out
yeah.
there that know a lot of things.
Well, I mean,
It
if you
still is
believe some of the
conjecture if we don't know who those people are.
right, but if you believe some of the conspiracy theories, some of the conspiracy theories is that we've had contact, we've had crash UFOs, we've had government people that know what's going on. So, um, yeah, there may be people that have answers. Of course, you and I don't. The only thing I will say, I've got actually anyone that wanted to look, I did do a video um, where I discussed a time where I saw something in the sky. um, I can't say what it was, but it was not normal. It was no plane that took off at just a very high speed. If anyone that wants to hear about it, there's a video I put up on our channel. But
I'll try
but
and add a link to it.
yeah, well, I mean, I saw something that was changing brightness, color. Um, I was watching it because I thought I was seeing a radio tower light on fire, but it was to the right of the radio towers or whatever they were, and they could have been. just beacons for planes or whatever. But this was to the right of that, and I thought I was seeing one maybe burning out or something because it was getting bright, 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 and then it went back down and it turned back because it started out as red. Well, the crazy thing was, and I'd been driving a long time, but I was keeping my eyes like moving in different directions. The crazy thing was and one of the things that they always say with, is it a UFO? Is it or UAP, they call them now, but it took off at an extremely high speed. It was just off and it was gone. And so I was like, whoa. And that was when I started realizing, okay, that was not a radio tower light that I was seeing. And it wasn't a helicopter and it wasn't a plane, because nothing can move from a standing still to just gone. And that's what this did. And that's the only time I've ever seen anything. And it's the only thing that I could possibly base any of my personal knowledge that I saw something that could be something otherworldly or whatever. But anyway, you get back to this movie is about this. It's about, all of a sudden the aliens have arrived, and they arrive all over the planet. And if you want to, we didn't, since I had to ask you that question because you started a can of worms, and there's a lot of areas with this.
I mean, it's one of the reasons why I love the movie and
Yeah,
why I picked it. It's rich fodder for our discussion for this video.
yeah. So in this one, you give the synopsis because this is your pick,
Okay.
and yeah,
Okay. So for those following along at home, we're talking about the 2016 Denis, oh, I'm not gonna get his name right, Villeneuve
right,
movie,
right. Doesn't
uh,
matter. Yeah,
Arrival.
yeah,
And so in this movie, as the name would imply, alien spaceships descend upon the Earth, 12 of them, all around the world. One in the US, one in China, one in various different other locations around the world. For the United States, their response is to not only militarily quarantine the area that the spaceship is in, but also assemble a team for first contact, because these aliens are inviting contact. They are opening their doors. They are inviting humans to enter and communicate. And as such, one of the people that the military sends in is a linguistics expert. This is Dr. Louise Banks, played by actor Amy Adams.
the beautiful Amy Adams.
Beautiful, beautiful Amy Adams. Um, and the entire movie is about her trying to bridge this communication gap.
Yeah.
And
Well,
in so doing, it becomes obvious that her life and her life experiences are pertinent to this communication.
yeah. Well, and that was one of my problems with the movie. However, I have a number of different problems with this movie, and but I will also say that I quite enjoyed it. Um, but there's a number of things with this that I could pick flaws with, and one of them is, if you're an advanced civilization that could, if you look at the ship that's behind you, um, to fly something like that, and you're talking about, in order for any, unless it's coming from another dimension, we have no idea where, if there's anything visiting us, we have no idea where they would be coming from. They could be interdimensional. They could have developed some type of,
I mean, this speculative nature of sci-fi alone is
yeah,
one of the reasons why I love it.
because the laws of physics dictate that it would take so long to get from the over those vast, no, you can, if you're talking about being limited by the speed of light, you're just not going to, your civilization is probably going to be long dead by the time you arrive at the place you and try to get back. And it's, so unless you have some type of gravity hyperdrive that can bend space and time, um, which apparently they have a way of manipulating time. That's one of the things that comes out. So they had that solved. So here's my first problem with the movie. You come all this way, you're so sophisticated that you actually have invented a drive that can get you from somewhere far across the universe, and you arrive at Earth where there's life, and you want to share your technology with them, and you can't even talk to them because you don't know how to talk to them, and you don't have any technology that will allow you to communicate. I could not, like, I was thinking, this is ridiculous that you've got somebody trying to figure out a language to so that she can teach the, and it's, and almost to me it's like, and I don't know if you want to blame Hollywood or just man's arrogance, but it's like we're still looking at this advanced civilization and thinking, oh well, we have to show them how to talk. If they came here, they would have something ready so they could, whether it was some psychic communication or technology that could actually. So that was my first flaw. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but
So,
that was,
so on that, there's two things.
yeah,
First of all, I think, this is sci-fi. This isn't fact. We don't
yeah,
know what would happen. But I think what the movie was trying to impress upon the audience is that we don't realize just how aliens might be. And so we have written language, we verbalize, we vocalize sounds that have meaning, and the aliens that we encounter might communicate entirely by touch. It might be all tactile. It
right,
might be all scent driven.
right,
And it might be driven by a sense that we don't even possess, and they do. And I think the movie was trying to show how different, like how big the gap with communication may be with an alien species if we ever actually did make
right.
contact.
Well, and here's the thing, like, I mean, first of all, again, when you talk about either conspiracy theories or whether you believe in the idea that anything's come here, has come here, um, will come here, are here now, whatever. Um, if you listen to some of the encounters, some of the say some of the people so-called encounters, we don't know what's real and what's not, but you know what, people that have said they had some kind of an encounter have said that they were communicating telepathically, or that they just seemed to know, like what the things were saying. So I just find it hard to believe that something, and I get in language because one of the cool things, and she was a linguistics expert, and there's some really cool aspects of this film. So before I get too negative about, I'm just saying this, it did kind of bother me that,
No, no, no. I mean that part of the joy is picking out the flaws.
yeah, well, on the one hand, it's a cool concept, but you know what, one of the things that I actually ended up thinking to myself, and the story is about an arrival and alien contact all over the world. But I was almost thinking you could have told this story with the same plot, um, and it not even had an alien thing in it. It could have been something, because there is also a thing of, um, there's also a whole thing about time, and because she realizes, her one of the central things to the plot is she has a child who dies, and she's estranged from her husband, and her life is almost kind of sad and bitter because she's lost a child to cancer that grew up and died as a teenager, I guess, with cancer, and she's apparently there's some cool aspects of the story. Like I said, I hate to be negative, and at the same time, um, it's part of maybe what I felt the story could have been told a lot of different ways, And one of the ways was you didn't need the it was cool, but you didn't need the alien factor to tell the story because it could have still been something to do with, there's a movie, what's that, is it Out of Time? It's a newer movie with Florence Pugh in it, and that's about, it's almost like it's almost like um, just living life in random order almost, because it's a woman that gets cancer and she's dying, and but it's like her whole life is like they keep jumping back and forth between the early relationship, how it's evolving, and the later relationship. And it's a pretty cool movie, but I almost think this one could have been told similarly. So that's that was one of my things, as I was thinking, well, as good as this is with the aliens, it necessarily didn't need to have that.
But I mean, you could say that of a lot of movies. There's a lot of movies where there is a theme, there's a message, and you could convey that message with aliens or as a horror with a serial killer or
Right,
as a rom-com. I mean,
right,
you could take the message and you can translate it almost infinite ways, and they
right.
just chose aliens.
Yeah, and I get that. But like I said, I struggled with this while I was watching it, and because on the one hand I was like, I I liked it, and at the same time I saw these. What do you think the budget was for this movie?
Oh, I know what the budget was for this movie because I looked these things up.
Yeah,
$47 million. Dollars.
yeah, that's a lot of money. I
That's
mean,
a
it's
lot
not.
of money.
And here's the thing. Um, one of the problems I had with this movie, those hazmat suits and how they took them on and off, and they're not way far off of some of the hazmat suits that you might see in real life. But here's an example of, let's try to get this shot here. These are guys that are in, this is decontamination suits after coming back from space or whatever, or they're having to clean or wash down a, so it's not terribly different. But if you notice, look at the gloves and look at the locks on the wrists. Look at the boots. They were wearing like normal boots in there. And granted, like there's a point where she actually takes off her gear inside, because, and that was another thing, they brought birds in. So
I do not get that.
yeah,
I do have an issue with that. That
yeah,
seemed
yeah,
nonsensical to me.
and you okay. I'm not saying that maybe you might not do that as a backup, but we have very sophisticated. I mean, we use them at where I work, and
Wait, birds?
we deal with big size fuel tanks, and people have to go in and sniff the tanks, and we have these meters, and they're calibrated before you use them to make sure they're working, and then you go in and you sniff the tank and make sure the air quality is pure. So, and some of them are very expensive meters, and I'm sure NASA and the government organizations have way better ones than what we have. Um, so the bird thing seemed a little bit primitive. The other
Well,
thing
not
was,
only that, here is my problem with the
yeah,
bird thing.
yeah,
The whole focus of the movie is communication between these two alien species.
right,
And so, you know, the main character, Dr. Banks, Amy
yeah,
Adams, was making some great points. We don't know if these people have, if these creatures have names. We don't know if these entities perceive basically things like we do.
right,
There's such a foreign gap. This is the challenge. If I were that alien and this species brought a bird in, brought a whole nother species in,
right,
I would think that that bird was part of the communication process.
right, right, or that
It
the
would
bird,
really confuse things.
yeah, or that maybe the bird was like somebody that was
The bird was
It's
in
like,
charge.
is this who I should be talking to?
I know exactly.
Yeah. And the bird can talk and it's going, fuck you. But
I'm not with these guys.
yeah, take me out of here. uh, but yeah, so that was one thing. Another thing that really bugged me, and this was more in a lighter thing, but when they drove them out to go to the ship and they had a damn scissor jack. Again, we use those at work. And the other thing was that probably had more reach on that scissor jack. Maybe there's some real tall ones, but
Yeah, there's
this thing
military grade scissor jacks.
it was a really great scissor jack. It kept going up and up and up. But you're going to use a scissor jack to get. And the other thing was the aliens obviously knew that there was this, and the way the ship was, and I don't know how much of the ship was bigger than that, but it's. I mean, there's been conjecture about alien ships that some of them may be even like an organic, sort of like the Lex. If you ever
Yep,
watched
yep.
the science fiction series, the Lex,
You've
but
also Farscape.
yes, yes. So yes, absolutely. But their method of getting to the vessel, it's you'd think that they would have had some kind of, because there was like very low gravity. You would have thought that maybe they would have pulled them up or something, with like pulling the gravity away so that they could actually get inside. And instead, they have to use this scissor jack to just to get like deep enough inside that they can crawl their way up. But so, like I said, that was another thing. It was, that's a petty thing, but it was bugging me too. So I'm naming the things that
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
really bothered me about the movie. Another thing that kind of bothered me was, and it Hollywood again, this whole thing with the Chinese were like they were the first ones threatening. Well, who the hell would start shooting at a ship that managed to come across? I've heard supposed encounters. If you listen to some early stories of supposedly it back like in the 40s, 50s, that we actually probably in the 50s, we actually did send jets or planes to try to chase down a UFO that was seen somewhere, maybe over a military base. And supposedly there were ones that fired on UFOs and it didn't end well. And it didn't end well for us. So that's the other problem is like when I think to myself, China, and I truly like that was again Hollywood's thing of like, oh, it was actually the Chinese general that was actually benevolent in the end and decided to back down. But first of all, I don't think China would have been dumb enough to say we're just going to start shooting at these things and
Well,
goading.
so here's the thing. Watching this movie made me realize something about myself.
Yeah,
I like boring sci-fi.
yeah.
I
Well,
like sci.
this wasn't boring though.
It was a lot longer than it needed to be. There wasn't
Yeah,
a whole lot of action going on.
yeah,
This was a very cerebral science fiction.
yeah. It was.
And I learned that, man, that is what I really like. Like, don't get
Yeah,
me wrong, I love space battles, I like laser pew pews,
yeah,
but I really love sci-fis like this, like Primer, like Man from Earth, where there's not a lot going on other
yeah,
than the exploration of ideas.
yeah,
And and that's for the most part, if you strip this movie to its bare bones, that's what this is. And audiences just would not sit for that. They needed some high stakes. They needed
yeah,
some risk, some even hint of action. And
yeah,
that's what the Chinese threat was in this movie.
yeah, yeah. And I can agree with you on that. I think that's definitely probably true. And again, like I've been doing a lot of nitpicking here, so
And
you
that's, I
know,
mean, that's great. That's what
it's
we're talking about.
but those were the things that while I was watching the movie, and I listen, it happens even when I'm watching a movie that I like really well. Every once in a while, I'll see something that bugs me in the movie, and for some movies, it can destroy the whether I like the movie or not. Um, a good example of one that got destroyed for me because of stupid special effects and was the remake of Gone in 60 Seconds, the original Gone in 60 Seconds, the real early
I
one.
never saw the remake.
Well, the remake, they had a scene in a was one of the earlier scenes where they steal a car and he drives it out of a dealership. It's like a real high end dealership, and there's a window and it's got a low like wainscoting wall below the window, and he drives the car and you see the car like going up in the air like smashes into the window. It's up in the air and it's like, would you build a ramp? Because I didn't see it. But somehow or other, the car went airborne, and audiences just bought that. I don't know. I didn't. But the car lands in the street, kind of skids sideways because obviously they did set up a ramp to do the shot. But which again would have supposedly this was a rare car. I believe I don't know if that was the scene where they stole the Mustang or which one, but it was downhill from there. And there was there was another scene where there's a car carrier with no cars on top conveniently, and he drives up behind it. No one put the ramps down, so how he just would have smashed into the back of the truck because the ramps weren't down. He drives up on top of the ramp and he takes off, does this. He's like jet propelled, goes across like 4 or 5 lengths of cars and comes crashing down onto the deck of a ship. And and then when he pulls up, he goes, "Oh, sorry, the mirror's broken." And I'm thinking, it was not just you do a jump like that,
So
you broke more than a mirror.
I take your point.
Yes.
This is all part and parcel.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna watch a movie, normally it's me picking these things.
Right.
But if you're gonna watch a movie, there's the whole suspension of disbelief that
Right.
you need
Of
to hold.
course.
But also, you have problems with that, and you enjoyed Eat My Dust.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it's the exact same thing.
No, because Eat My Dust was complete comedy, and Gone in 60 Seconds was done more as a action suspense drama, and it was done in seriousness. So when you screw up a stunt scene like that, and you make it unbelievable, you can forgive in satire, you can forgive in comedy because comedy, if something really wacky happens in a comedy, it's like, okay, well, this is a nutty comedy, so it's nothing's making real whole lot of sense here. So you can get away with it with that, but you can't with drama or like an action film as much. And I will forgive some things. This movie, like I said, I'm nitpicking, but I'm saying this: if this movie went too far, I would be telling you right now, I hate this movie, 2 thumbs down, and I'm not doing that. I like this movie.
This movie works. I mean,
I've got some,
it
yeah,
definitely pushes the boundaries
yeah.
of the
I've
suspension of disbelief principle.
Yeah, I've got some problems with it, but the things that I'm nitpicking at, um, and I know anyone listening or even you listening to me, it sounds like I'm hating on the movie, and I'm not. I enjoyed this movie. I'm just pointing out that there were some things about the movie that I was like, oh, come on, So I can't say that I wasn't feeling
Well,
that.
I mean, let's face it, the core of the movie, if you had to break down this movie
Yeah.
to the very essence, it would be that of linguistic relativity.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so
And
she kept saying this. Linguistic relativity is the theory that the language you speak in
yeah.
will change how you think
Yeah.
about
Well,
the
and
world in general.
another thing that again, I'm trying to get through of the problems I have with it. But one of the things was the very fact that because each area of the world there were 12 ships total, and each area had their own ship, kind of. Um, and this was our area, and so I just don't believe the way the government, and come on, we know the government, the way they control things. I just don't think that, like, because the go-between was the dude behind you. Whatever I don't know what his rank was. I don't know if he's a colonel or what his rank was, and he was cool, but he was supposed to be communicating with all the higher ups, and it wouldn't have been like, it wouldn't have just been these two. They wouldn't have just relied on them. They would have had all their guys in there behind and saying, you can do this, you can't do that, because that's how they only had the one bad government guy that was in there. And he was a real prick, but I'm kind of glad that they did
So
it this
what's the
way.
role here? We want you to be a real prick.
Yeah. Well, that was, to me, that was the maximum amount of prick that I really wanted to say in this. So I'm glad they did it this way. And I think I finished up all my nitpicking. And I will say the linguistic thing actually was a really neat aspect to this. So even though I'm having problems with the idea of aliens coming all this way and we're having to teach them the communication, I felt that was flawed. However, it did lend a really cool element to the story, and it's basically the basis for everything that happens both in her life and his life too, because she realizes this guy is actually my husband, and they are living out of time. It's a crazy concept when you get into, and that's what made me, when I started realizing that, I was like, okay, that was a really cool development in the movie, and that's probably what pulled me back and made me love the movie. So you heard me do the first half of this was all nitpicking, and I came back around, and in the end, I had to say that I truly liked the movie a lot. So
Yeah, although I gotta say, I don't see. I think this is a great movie. I picked
yeah,
it. I think it's a great movie. I don't see it being popular with the general masses.
yeah,
It's
you're
not
probably
a thrill a minute. It
you're
is
probably right.
it is slow, it is ponderous, it's gorgeous to look at.
Yeah.
The cinematography, the shots are
Oh my God,
amazing.
it's beautifully shot. It's
But
beautifully shot.
like it's it's more of a thought exercise than a whole movie. Not a whole lot happens.
Yeah. Well, enough happens though. I think something, if you're like both of us, I mean, you especially, if you're a sci-fi nerd like we are, let's face it, call us what we are. We're nerds, and we like our sci-fi too, especially you, but both of us. And so any sci-fi nerd that's out there, and I would love to hear comments. Nobody comments, or very little. We get very little on comments, and we'd
We
love to
got
hear
quite
more.
a few with our last video.
That's true. That's true. Maybe we're
So
starting to pull
thank
some.
you for that.
Yes, absolutely. We really appreciate that. Anyone that's watching at all, when you comment, it makes us feel really good. I mean, we love hearing that. Whether you're bitching at us, or whether you're praising us, or whether you're just talking about ideas that we brought out, or we love it. So
What's the thing?
Don,
Like, we love making these videos. We love
yes,
talking to each other. We love watching movies. We love talking about movies. So, as we have said many times, whether anyone watched this channel or not, we would
we're
be
gonna,
doing this.
yeah, we're doing it because for us,
That
really.
that being said, it's always nice to know we're not talking to the void.
Yeah, yeah, because sometimes it feels that way. Sometimes it really feels that way. So if, like I said, if anyone wants to throw comments out, good, bad, or indifferent, we would like to hear it. But Dom definitely picked this movie. It's one that I actually had thought I had seen, and I realized I hadn't seen it,
Oh, really?
and
You haven't seen
I
this?
had not seen this movie, and so that was another thing is, uh, sitting there watching this, I realized, like, wow, this is actually one I somehow didn't. I think I either confused this with another
There is another
Arrival.
science fiction called
Yes,
Arrival with
yeah,
Charlie Sheen.
yeah, and I'll tell you something, and whether or not anyone's going to really get angry with me for saying this, because I think it has its fans, but what's the one with Jodie Foster, the Contact one?
Oh yeah, yeah, Contact.
Yeah, I didn't like that movie. I thought that was one I thought was boring. It was
Eh,
slow. It was,
it was. I like that too, but then
yeah,
again, I like slow,
Yeah.
ponderous science
That
fiction.
that one was too slow for me. This one had some nice angles and twists, and it was what made me ultimately actually say that I liked the movie was when I started realizing where they were going with it. And at the start, it was I was thinking to myself, this is just like ridiculous. The way they're coming at the aliens, the way the aliens are coming at them, the way the primitive method of trying to communicate with them. And I'm thinking, you just don't have, but it turned out to be a really cool element to the story.
Well,
And
also keep this in mind. Like, you know, when I first started taking driving lessons,
yeah,
I knew I was going to pass.
yeah,
Almost everyone passes. It's not that hard a concept. I'm pretty able to learn things. I had no doubt what the outcome was. However, I still needed to go through that time period
yeah,
and do those activities.
yeah,
This alien race in this movie saw time, saw all of time.
yeah,
They knew that they would need humanity's help in 3,000 years.
yes. Well,
So
yeah,
they also knew exactly how that visit would go.
yeah,
They knew that learning process needed to happen. Maybe not for the aliens,
right.
maybe for us.
Yeah. And that was another element when when that happened, because I was also thinking to myself, like, some of like I don't know what was going on with that one stupid. Supposedly it was like some kind of little insurrection where I don't even really know it was because they were on board the vessel and they didn't really show what happened, but you could hear small arms fire, and I don't know what anyone thought they were doing with firing on each other with M16s, M4s. Um, but how you thought maybe you were going to solve anything that way, but there was something because it made and that was the other thing is the aliens could have killed them. They basically spit them out of the ship, and I thought if you could spit them out of the ship like that, why didn't you just suck them in
Well,
when they were,
well,
yeah,
the
but
thing is I like how they did that
yeah,
because um, one of the things that is underemphasized in
yeah,
these first contact movies is it's been widely discussed that regardless of whether aliens came as a conquering race or as a benevolent force,
right,
it would be such a disruptive force to
right,
all of Earth, all of society, that regardless of what the aliens were or did,
yeah,
just the knowledge of their existence has the
yeah,
potential of tearing our civilization apart.
yeah. Well, and the other thing too is language is so because one of the things they kept saying was like they were saying like show us your weapon, and then they which well,
Show
actually
us your weapon.
yeah, which actually had a that did crack me up because it does have a it does have a certain context that can be
Connotation.
misconstrued. But the other thing was like because the what they were offering us was actually something that was a gift of time and the ability to move through time, and and we the word that they were using for that gift was weapon.
Mhm.
And so it reminded me, and it's something I've always been very conscious of this. And I mean, people talk about, and I don't want to get into religion, but people talk about like in whether you're talking about the Quran or whether you're talking about the Bible or whatever you're talking about. Um, when people that one of the things that bothers me with some people that are very rigid with religion is it's the exact word of God. And it's like, no, it's been translated so many times. It's been there's so many and when someone writes something down and then another person makes a copy, and especially if they're copying another language, I had I've my friend Charlie, um, he had a wife that was from Lithuania, really brilliant woman, spoke several languages, and spoke them fluently. And believe me, she could have been an interpreter for the UN. She was really, really brilliant. And she was talking one time because she was a nurse practitioner, and she was working and she had called because there was a guy from Belarus, and she could speak Belarus, and she the guy was talking, and he said something to her, and she was trying to explain it to one of the doctors there, and because the guy actually needed surgery, and what he was saying, for the doctors didn't understand it at all. And she said the word in Belarus, there was a terrible translation problem with what the doctor was trying to tell her to tell the guy, and what he was trying. She said there was no way of, like, properly, and she had to like really work around it, and ultimately she made them realize what each was saying. But it was a language barrier, that, and you can encounter that with languages. So that was one thing that I thought was fascinating with this movie, is how they were using that word weapon, and it did not mean weapon at all, and not in our meaning of it, and they probably didn't think of what the meaning was to us, or however it was. There
No,
was
right,
a
right. They're trying to express,
Yeah,
neither side's certain what
yeah.
word or what image or what anything to use.
So as much as I bitched about the problem of why would they come here and just not have a better way of communicating, at the same time, it made for a very fascinating element to the story. And all this stuff, I thought those symbols were really cool. I thought the aliens, I love how they never really fully showed them. They were always kind of in the fog.
Very smart decision.
Yes, extremely so. Because if you had made that really clear and they looked hokey, you would have ruined the movie.
Yep.
So as much as
Yeah,
I
because the,
spent,
the whole movie had this dream-like feel to it.
yes, yes, it did. It absolutely did. Because the early parts with, I was never bored with this movie ever. As much as like I said, I spent the early part nitpicking, um, and I did the movie an injustice in the sense of
Yeah.
just nitpick, but I had to get that out of the way, because those were my problems. But if I would say, if anyone's sitting and watching the movie the way I was, give it a chance, because it does bring you back around. And if you're,
It's worth the payoff.
yeah, it absolutely is. And like I said, ultimately, her life, the scenes with her child, and watching the child grow, and they did a pretty good job of that, making it flow. Um,
Okay. Now I'm going to add a bit of speculation because
sure.
Lisa and I had a disagreement about
Okay.
this aspect of the movie.
Sure.
She is convinced that Jeremy Renner, his character, Ian
Yeah.
Donnelly, the
Yeah.
physicist, is the father of her dead daughter.
He is.
How? They hadn't met.
That she realizes in the movie, she realizes that he is actually her husband.
That she just met.
Yeah,
So
because of the
his
whole
sperm,
time thing.
his
It's
sperm traveled time to fertilize her egg. You've got time traveling sperm
was
here.
that her past? Because what the aliens gave them was the gift of time manipulation.
No, no, no. What they gave them was the gift of time perception. They didn't allow them to escape the bounds of time. We still have a temporal existence. They were just able to see different parts of that timeline.
I thought it was way more than that, because
And this
um,
this was our discussion.
yeah. Well, what she says makes sense, because I came to the same conclusion. She's looking at him, and she's realizing he's her husband, and and I think they even show him later with the kid and with her. It's and towards the end of the movie, it's there is some confusing things there. And I actually really felt it was more than just the perception of time, and which, hey, listen, it was a Stephen Hawking that said time was not, we think of time as being linear, and it's not. And and that's the thing, is if we're looking at time, here's what's happening right now is actually the past, because when we put this up, it's, we've already filmed this, and this will be in the past, but it's not, but time isn't necessarily like that. It's just our perception of it. So, I mean, you think of like memories when you were a little kid, are those really gone by? If time is really not, you're starting to get into some heavy stuff here.
Right, exactly.
But
Man, and that's one of the most enjoyable parts of this movie.
well, and that's why I said to you, opened a big can of worms, because there's so many elements to this movie, and there's so many things to discuss and talk about. That's why I opened it up with, do you believe in aliens? Do you believe it? Because that's only one thing to even just go from that opening thing there. But then there's the whole thing of time. And that's another thing, and I have noticed this with you. You love stuff
Oh my God.
with time, which is
Totally
cool. I
love
do
it. I
too.
am obsessed.
Yeah, I do too, and I love how you've actually gotten me to watch a couple of things that, hey, there's probably what, three movies that you've introduced now that had time as an, uh, whether it was the one about the man who had lived for eons, and or
Yeah,
whether it
so
was
there was Man from Earth, there
there
was
was the
Arc,
con,
ARQ, there was Triangle, the one on the
yeah,
boat.
yeah.
The, I mean, I've
Is
got
the
more. Believe me, I will be
you
choosing more
said to me
movies
one
like
time,
this.
there's a whole theme here with you with the con movies, which I love con movies. Well, there's a whole theme with you about time. So, again, like I
I
said,
haven't even begun to choose Groundhog Day.
yeah, oh yeah, I love that movie. And you're right, that's another cool one with elements of time and repetition of time. But I'm fascinated by it myself, dude. I honestly, and it's part of what really brought me back around with this movie. I loved when that started becoming an element to the movie, and that's why I said you almost didn't need the alien plot, because, which I'm glad it was there, but
Mhm.
you almost didn't need it, because there was such a cool story about time and how. But then again, you would have had to have had another plot
Now,
element to,
if you want the most bare bones time story possible, that I'm dying to do, but we can't because the movie is so hard to find,
what's,
is Primer.
oh yeah,
Primer
yeah,
is to me the ultimate uh, time play sci-fi because it's a bunch of guys in a garage. Again, it's my kind of movie. It's just a
yeah,
bunch of ideas.
yeah. Well, maybe I'll try to turn Alicia on to finding that one for us. She's pretty good. Um, I mean, hey, that one movie that I actually bought for you on DVD, because it's only on DVD and had sent to you, and that's when we finally do that one. That is, yep, that's it right there.
Yep, yep.
That is,
Mike, this movie looks questionable.
dude, it's. I'll have to talk to you off camera, because when we actually do this one, I'm really curious about what your reaction is going to be to that movie. It's got so many. I wouldn't even go into it right now, but yeah. So yeah, as far as this movie goes, um, I I fully give it its due. This was a fun movie. I loved even these symbols. This was annoying me at first, because when I was really having the problems with the communication and thinking, why did they come all this way and not have a better system of communication? It became a very fascinating thing, the very search for what the language was, and how, and it was right up her alley. That's why they needed her. It was in her element to decode this, and the book aspect was even neat, that she had written the book.
Mhm.
That was another fascinating and cool aspect to this. So, as all the bitching I did at the start of this, um, I came around changing my, or not, I wasn't changing my opinion, because I already had it firmly locked that I liked the movie. but I wanted you to see how I evolved with this movie because I started out like so many problems with this movie, and it could have ruined it for me. It was that strong, and but I when I started seeing deeper plot elements to this, I started thinking, okay, I know where they're going with this, and I know why they're going with this, and so even though there were holes, at the same time, it was like, man, they made it work. They made
Yeah.
everything work.
Yeah. So,
So
this is my pick,
yeah,
and it should be obvious. I'm giving it an unapologetic two thumbs
yeah,
up.
and I am
Were
too.
there issues? Were there holes? Yes, but
Yeah,
wow, they wove a great story.
yeah, yeah. They did, they did, and I fully give it the two thumbs up. And so anyone watching, if you listen to me, I hope you're still with us. And all the people that probably were that love this movie, maybe that probably were hating on what I was saying. I truly love the movie too. So I had problems with it, and it sold me. It ultimately sold me. And I would say if you haven't seen this movie, we really have not ruined this movie because there's so many aspects to this to absorb. And hey, the other thing is talking about comments. That's a pretty cool thing you brought up about with that Lisa and you were looking at that differently, and I looked at it differently. Um, I wonder what other people thought, like what's your interpretation of?
This is not
Yeah,
a simple interpretive movie. There
no,
are
nope,
several things that can be discussed and several ends that can be seen here.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and again, as much as anyone that was watching this that heard me giving my nitpicks about the movie, I ultimately solidly give it two thumbs up. So watch the movie, please, if you've never seen it.
It's a great movie. We certainly didn't give anything away because
No,
the movie is complex enough that the final reveal is it's deeper than what we're talking about.
yeah, 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 absolutely. And again, um, give it a look. Give it a look. And again, would like to hear your comments. Um, please give us a little slice of opinion on this movie. And so so yeah, the other thing is, as far as like we always give our pick at the end of the and
Are you going to give your pick, Mike?
I'm going to give my pick. And the funny part about this is I had a pick, and I was going to go with it, and you held up that movie, and I'm going to go with Cage Terror. So we're
Cage
go yeah.
Terror.
So it's got another name for it too. And the other
It
name is
does. It's
actually
like it's a bizarre name. It's like
it's
the bright light of day or something.
it's the something it's actually part of a song, and it was a song. Yeah, it's escaping me right now, and I don't have it in front of me. So in order, this one here is really hard. You can anyone that Cage Terror, and it's got another name for it too. Um, but it's a pretty obscure movie, and I'll tell
Very obscure.
I first saw this movie. I first saw this movie on VHS, and I anyone that knows us and or has watched us and has heard us say we're two longtime movie buffs. We're huge movie fans, and I've got various friends that are into movies. One of them is Walt. If you're listening, Walt, they're throwing your name out there in the mix. But Walt and I used to a lot of times. I did antique and fine art moving in my younger days, and we would travel all over the place. If we saw like a used record store, bookstore, video store, we would stop and peruse and buy stuff. And there was a really cool place nearby in New England here, that was an outlet for rental stores, and we picked up the best obscure, oddball, low budget, bad movies, that which should tell you something about the movie that I just
It should
picked.
tell us something about the movie we're
Oh
going to do
yeah,
next
it's
week.
well, it's again, I saw it the first time because Walt had bought a copy and he watched it and he goes, "Dude, you ought to see this movie." And he was laughing about it and talking about how the movie was really strange and weird. And it's um, it's something that like it's hard for me. I don't want to say anything about it right now,
We'll
other
be
than
talking enough about it
if
next week.
you can find this movie for our listeners, if you want to try to check this movie out, it's going to be a hard find because Cage Terror is one name for it. And the girl, the last name is Suzuki. What's her first name? You have the cut.
Elizabeth Suzuki.
Yes, and that might be one of the ways. If you look up her name, you probably can find the movie, and you'll find the other title. It's extremely low budget. It's I believe a lot of it was probably shot in upstate New York, but it's or maybe Canada. I'm not sure, but at any
I thought
rate,
it was Canadian.
yes, yeah, that's right. It is Canadian, and it's a weird element. It's definitely a B movie. It's definitely a low budget movie.
And
So
and let's save the rest for next week.
next week. So Dom, I will see you next week. I had a blast talking about this one. You had a good pick. I'm not sure how you're going to take next week's movie.
I mean, that's the whole fascination is how
Yeah,
am I going to take
yeah.
it?
Well, that's so. So we should have fun talking. Hopefully, we have enough. We had so much with this week's pick. Well, hopefully, we have just as much to talk about.
We've never failed to find something to talk about.
That's true. I can go in a lot of different directions, and I can think right now of a couple of directions to go with next
Well,
week's
we'll
pick.
save it
So, yep. All right. I will see you next week, Dom. And
next week. Yeah.
it was, yep, it was fun. This was a good pick. So, thank you.